Hi guys, welcome back to this month's live stream of the early show where I answer your questions. Let me just make sure that I'm all set up here. Whilst I'm having a look at all the technical stuff, why don't you guys let me know how you're doing? If you're from Malaysia, how you are taking the news of the impending lockdown that's starting in January, February, March. It's starting in 2 days. And what you guys have done to prepare for it. Although, to be fair, I don't think there's very much to prepare because some stuff is still going to be open. But yeah, let me know how you guys are doing and what you've been up to over the last month and how everything's gone. And if you've gotten your vaccinations yet, I want to know if you guys have gone for your jabs yet. But yeah, let me know who's actually watching because I can't tell based on this. How have things been over here? They've been interesting. We just had Wesak Day 4 days ago. So I'm going to be talking today about something that's a little bit related to that. But I will start as soon as more people join us. So yeah, if you guys have any questions today, by the way, or if you have any questions at all, please feel free to ask me at the end of the live stream. I will, as usual, try and keep this sharing as short as possible to leave more time for people's questions. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the technical difficulties that we've experienced in the last 2 live streams are over this time. Fingers crossed. But yeah, if you can't hear me, if there's anything wrong with the feed, let me know as well. All right. Just waiting for a couple more people to join us. And please say hi. Please let me know where you're tuning in from. Because like I said, I can't tell. Hi, Kawi. Hello. Hi, Piroj, Moktan. I'm going to assume that you're Nepali based on your name. I don't know. That might be a false assumption to make. Yes, so today I'm going to be talking about Wesak Day, something related to that. And if you guys haven't already caught our Wesak Day live stream, it is available to watch back on the Kachara Facebook fan page. Because of the current situation with COVID and the pandemic and everything this year, we weren't able to open to the public for the second time for Wesak Day. So everything was live streamed, and we had the puja, we had the incense, candle offerings, Buddha bathing, and all the rest of that. So that took place on the 26th. If you guys don't already know, Wesak Day is the day that Buddha Shakyamuni was born, the day that he became enlightened, and also the day that he passed into Parinirvana. So a couple of weeks ago, I talked about how that particular day is extremely special. And one of the ways that we can most easily tell that Wesak Day is extremely special is because for ourselves, for people on our level, it's very hard for us to plan what we're going to do tomorrow, what we're going to do next week, next month, let alone next year. Especially with things that are always changing right at this current moment, with new SOPs coming up and all of that. It's very hard for us to plan, what we're going to do. But Shakyamuni had this ability to plan the day that he was going to be born, the day that he was going to become enlightened, and the day that he was going to enter clear light and pass into Parinirvana. And out of 365 days in a year, Shakyamuni picked that one particular day to manifest and to show all of these miraculous and holy deeds. So that one particular day must be something pretty special because he had 364 other days to choose from. So the fact that this one particular day was picked is a sign, it's a reflection of how auspicious and how holy that particular day is. So Wesak Day may be over, but there is still the whole entire month of Wesak. So if you guys haven't done your offerings yet, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but if you guys haven't done your offerings yet, you can still make offerings on rajasecrets.com. You've got the entire month to do that, all right? So since, let's see who's tuned in. Hi, Amy. Good morning. Hi, Jen. How? I hope that your rounds went well yesterday. Your Kachara Soup Kitchen rounds went well yesterday. I had the privilege to go down to KL yesterday, our capital city in Malaysia, which is 45 minutes away from where I live. So I had the privilege to go down yesterday to serve in the soup kitchen. And on the rounds that I was on, which I talked about on my Facebook, we had so many people coming to request for food that I'm really sorry to say we weren't able to serve everyone. So if you guys, wherever you are, if you're not tuning in from Malaysia, you're tuning in from somewhere else, if you have a soup kitchen or you have a food bank that's near you, please, 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 please go and support them and volunteer or donate or do something. Ask them what help they need, and then give them the help that they need, because so many people are suffering. And if we have even the small, tiniest privilege to help them, please go and extend your help. All right. But yes, good morning, Jen Hao. Good morning, Janet. Hi, Brian. Good morning, everyone. So yeah, thank you very much for tuning in and joining today. So since Vesak Day has just passed, and we spent all of Vesak Day commemorating Buddha Shakyamuni's deeds, what I wanted to talk about today was whether Buddhism is about praying to Buddha, because we spend an entire day looking like we're praying to Buddha, looking like we're worshipping Buddha. So the question that I wanted to kind of answer today was whether Buddhists worship the Buddha, or whether Buddhists worship the Buddha either as an idol, or as a god, or as something else. Hi, Sammy. Hi, Celeste. Hi, Sam. Hi, Jenny. Hi. Good morning, guys. Thank you for joining me. So yeah, today I wanted to talk about whether Buddhists or whether Buddhism worships Buddha, whether as an idol or as a god or something else. As I mentioned, I did also want to keep my sharing on the shorter side, because I know you guys have questions and ask questions. Our guru, His Eminence Sam Tuku Rinpoche, always encourage people to ask questions. And Rinpoche said that actually asking questions is an act of compassion, because oftentimes you find that many people have questions to ask, but they're too shy to ask them. So even if you think that your question is a stupid one, there's no such thing as a stupid question. So just ask, okay? Also, before I continue, thank you very much to the people who have sponsored today's sharing, both of whom wanted to remain anonymous. One anonymous sponsor would like to dedicate their contribution to all sentient beings, and the other sponsor would like to dedicate their contribution to all beings' liberation from suffering and attainment of compassion, wisdom, and true happiness. So thank you guys very much for your support. And I know I say this every week with my videos and stuff, but we have been doing live streams almost every week for over a year already. So your contribution continues to make this possible, and it's very encouraging for the people who actually do the live streams. All right, so thank you very much. So the question, is Buddhism about praying to the Buddha? Is Buddhism about worshipping the Buddha? Whether it's as a god or as an idol or something else? Short answer, the too long didn't read answer. Buddhism is not about praying to the Buddha. Buddhism is not about worshipping the Buddha. Buddhism doesn't, or in fact, the Buddha wasn't a god. The Buddha wasn't a deity. And in fact, Buddha Shakyamuni even cautioned or kind of taught people not to think of him as one, and also cautioned people against engaging in idolatry, so the worshipping of idols. And I know it sounds kind of odd that I say this, because when Buddhists bow or when we prostrate, it can look a lot like we are worshipping the Buddha, because I mean, if you're prostrating, that's automatically what people are going to think, right? That you are worshipping an idol, or you're worshipping a god or a being. But if you think about it, how else are you going to show respect to someone that all of us are socially familiar with? How do you show respect to a being, or to an idea, or to a set of teachings, or to a philosophy that you respect and that you revere? Even in a kind of secular, ordinary, mundane situation, when you have your parents, or you have a school teacher, or you have your boss, and so on, and they are trying to teach you something, or they are scolding you, or they are educating you on something, and you want to thank them. Even in an ordinary situation, how do you thank somebody? How do you show respect to someone in an ordinary situation? You fold your hands in respect. When you say thank you, and you want to show the utmost gratitude, you say thank you with your hands folded. And if you also think about it in another way, you think about where Buddhism spread from. Buddhism spread from India, and the first Buddhists were Indian. And in Indian culture, when you want to show respect to someone, when you want to show humility, how do you do that? You fold your hands. So when you want to show extreme respect, when you want to show extreme humility, when a son, for example, wants to show extreme humility and love to his mother, what do you do? What is Indian culture familiar with? A son will put his head to the mother's feet. So there is also that cultural aspect that has informed the way that we show respect, or the way that we show reverence to something that we treasure, something that we value. So when Buddhists bow or prostrate to the Buddha, what we're actually doing is not worshipping the Buddha as an idol. We're not worshipping the Buddha as a god. We're not worshipping the Buddha as a deity. But when Buddhists bow or prostrate to the Buddha, what they're actually doing is showing profound respect to what the Buddha and what his disciples taught, the teachings, the set of teachings that they spread, that they nurtured, that they promoted, that they delivered, conveyed to people to bring them out of suffering, to bring them to liberation. And they're also showing respect, and they're also showing reverence for the teachings that the Buddha and the disciples demonstrated through their own lives. And when Buddhists bow and they prostrate to images of the Buddha, or images of enlightened beings, what they're also doing is also they're reminding themselves, or we're reminding, I should say because it's inclusive, right? We are remembering and reminding ourselves of our own commitment towards following our spiritual path, towards following the Buddhist path. Buddha himself wanted his own life to be used as an example, to show us, to remind us that by training our mind, by engaging in mind transformation, by engaging and actually applying the teachings, that even an ordinary person can achieve enlightenment. And that even an ordinary person, even someone like you or me, like any of us who are not enlightened yet, that if we train our minds, it is possible for us to find a very stable, reliable, unchanging, lasting form of happiness and bliss. The same kind of happiness, the same kind of bliss that Buddha himself discovered by practicing the teachings. Because of our environment, because of the way that we have been socialized to think, because of the way that we have been trained to think, it is easy, I do admit, sometimes for our feelings about, or our respect for Dharma, for our respect for the teachings, for our respect for Buddha, to kind of spill over into worship or into adoration. But what the Buddha taught is that ultimately liberation is in the palm of our hands. All right. So yes, for those of you who joined Lamrim class with Gachara House, I'm going to bring this up again. Liberation is in the palm of our hands. Buddha, our guru, every single perfect enlightened being in the history of time, every single perfect enlightened guru in the history of time has always taught that in order for us to become enlightened, in order for us to become, more spiritually evolved, the responsibility and the work lies with us, that it's not with someone external, that it's not bestowed upon us, that it is up to us to take responsibility for our own path, for our own practice, and only through that can we become enlightened. So that's what the Buddha taught, is that use his life as an example, that if you apply the teachings, you can achieve the same kind of happiness and the same kind of liberation that the Buddha himself achieved. So having said all that, since it is our responsibility to practice, and since it is our responsibility to apply the teachings and to gain enlightenment through our own effort, why is it then that we have statues or that we have images of the Buddha? Before I continue, I'm going to take a drink of water. If you guys have any questions so far, please ask, right? And I will periodically scroll through the live stream. Good morning, Celeste. Hello. Hi Jenny, hi King Hoi, hi Eunice. Thank you very much for joining us this morning. This morning we're talking about why it is, whether Buddhism or Buddhists worship the Buddha, either as a god or as an idol or something else, right? So since liberation, since enlightenment is our own responsibility, it's our own responsibility to practice in order to gain enlightenment, why then do we have statues and images of the Buddha? Why then do we have free images of enlightened beings available for download on Rinpoche's blog? We have images and statues of enlightened beings as a reminder for ourselves of what is possible if we apply the teachings and if we commit to applying the teachings, and if we dedicate ourselves to our practice. Buddhists, we use the Buddha as an example of what happens if we're committed to our practice. It's a reminder of our own potential towards enlightenment, of our own capacity to become a more spiritually evolved being, to become a more highly evolved being, what we call in Buddhism our Buddha nature. So when we see images of enlightened beings, it is a reminder of our own Buddha nature and of our own potential to achieve the same state as the being that is being represented in that image or in that statue. And it's also a reminder that all of our foibles or all of our shortcomings or all of our flaws and all of our likes and our dislikes and our preferences and our mind games and our hang-ups and our emotional ups and downs and our volatility and all of that, those are not the kind of defining qualities or the be-all and end-all of our story and of our situation. That we shouldn't just stop here and think, I'm always going to be like this and there's no hope for me to change, there's no way out of this. When we see images of enlightened beings, when we see statues or images of the Buddha, it's a reminder that the experiences that we're having now as unenlightened beings, as beings who still are subjected to our karma, as beings who continue to suffer as a result of our karma, when we see these images, it's a reminder that our current situation is not the concluding chapter of our story, that we still have ways to go and that there is still hope, that there is still opportunity for development, for progress, for improvement. That when we see an image of the Buddha, it is a reminder that it is possible, that there is an end to our suffering, that there is an end to the experiences that we're having now. So when we see images of the Buddha, when we see images of enlightened beings, it's also encouragement for us, right? That look, we might be suffering now, we might be struggling now, we might be frustrated with ourselves, we might have anxiety, we might not like this person, we might not like that person, and all of the rest of that comes with beings in samsara. It's encouragement that it's not going to be like that forever, that liberation is possible, that there is happiness at the end of the road, that cessation of suffering is possible. All right, so Buddhists don't worship the Buddha, but Buddhists do revere the Buddha for what it is that he represents, that there is an end to suffering. The reason why we venerate or respect or show respect to the Buddha is he shows us that that his example, he is the example, and he has accomplished what it is that all of us want. That, and he's showing us the way, that he didn't just like, hey, everything's good with me now, see you guys, bye, and then goes off, right? But he accomplished what it is that all of us want, which is cessation of suffering, and he's showing us how to get there. How we can understand that on a very basic level. Why should we respect people who represent what it is that we want to accomplish? On a very basic level, we can understand that by looking around us at secular life. When you see an incredible footballer, or when you see an incredible athlete, or you see someone who has done an ultra marathon and run 10,000 miles in like 24 days or whatever it is, right? You see someone who's performed an incredible feat. Don't you admire them? When you see someone who has, for most people, when you see someone who has accomplished $1 million by the time they're 25 or whatever it is, right? Don't you, at some level, think, oh, how did they do that? And, you know, kind of have that kind of admiration for them. You see this even with fan clubs, right? Like even with celebrities that you admire, athletes that you admire, people admire them so much to the point that they start fan clubs for them. And they get inspired by them. They get inspired to train like them. They get inspired to compete like them. They get inspired to follow in their footsteps. So that, what Rinpoche explained is that for that kind of secular level of accomplishment, there's already so much veneration towards celebrities, towards athletes, towards people who perform very incredible feats, towards entrepreneurs and so on, to the point that ordinarily we're inspired to follow them. That's what Rinpoche explained. And that's just something that's temporal, something that's of this lifetime. Something is to develop a quality that we can't bring with us at the point of our passing, at the moment of our death. So that's temporal. But you can take that example and then extend it to help us to understand why it is that we revere and we respect the Buddha. Just think of the Buddha as a kind of super human athlete of the mind, right? For the rest of us, we all, you know, I mean, temporally speaking, secularly speaking, you've got athletes of the body, right? People who train for the Olympics. You admire them so much that you get inspired to train like them. The Buddha is an athlete of the mind. He trained so much and then became enlightened within his lifetime. He figured out the goal. The Buddha figured out the goal that he wants to get to, which is enlightenment. The Buddha figured out the way to get there. And then after he received requests to turn the wheel of Dharma, to teach, the Buddha accepted these requests to be our coach. So yeah, I'm using a sports analogy to explain why it is that we revere the Buddha. But yes, Buddha is a superhuman athlete of the mind. He figured out the goal. In physical athletes' cases, it's the Olympics. In the Buddha's case, his goal was enlightenment. Figured out how to get there. Figured out the training method. Figured out the training plan. Figured out how it is that he should exercise his mind or train his mind in order to achieve enlightenment. And then the Buddha, instead of resting on his laurels, accepted requests to be our coach. That is why we respect, and that is why we revere the Buddha, using that sports analogy. But what I do want to point out is that, good morning, Lusim. What I do want to point out is that the Buddha is our coach. The Buddha did accept requests to become our coach in the training to become enlightened. But the coach that is in front of us, directly in front of us, that all of us can interact with directly, that all of us can get training from directly, that all of us can gain knowledge from directly, is our gurus. And that is the reason why we venerate our gurus. Because our gurus put up with us. Because our gurus train us. They are the coaches that deal with us on a day-to-day basis. For some of us, it's very hard for us to picture the Buddha because he existed a very, very long time ago. The Buddha is too far away or too distant, or in the case of some people, they find it may be too abstract of a concept to relate with. For some of us, it's much, much easier for us to relate to our gurus because our gurus are right in front of us. And that is why bodhisattvas like our guru, His Eminence M. Tuku Rinpoche, manifest in a way that is relatable, that is accessible to us. If you read Rinpoche's story, if you read Rinpoche's biography, don't you find that there are moments, don't you find that there are points in Rinpoche's life story where you think, oh, actually that happened to me too. Let me learn and look and see how it is that Rinpoche dealt with it. Let me see how it is that Rinpoche was able to turn adversity into a moment of training to show me how that I can deal with it. So for some of us, relating to Shakyamuni is not as easy as it is to relate to our gurus or access. Our gurus are easier to access compared to Shakyamuni. Our gurus open the door to Dharma for us. They train us. They put up with our mind games. They put up with our hang-ups. Our gurus put up with all of the times that we say, I can't do this, I don't understand this. They nurture faith in Dharma in us. They deepen our practice. Our gurus deepen our understanding of Dharma. So through this relationship with our gurus, through this relationship with our teachers, we are then able to know that the Buddha exists because our gurus exist, and our gurus share with us a body of knowledge that has been passed down to us from Shakyamuni's time, that has been revealed by Shakyamuni and then taught from disciple to disciple until it's reached us. Our gurus show us that by practicing the teachings, that by applying what it is that Shakyamuni taught, our gurus show us that it is possible to develop the patience or to develop the compassion and to develop the knowledge that is necessary to deal with unenlightened beings like us, to deal with all of the complications and the ups and downs and the volatility and the afflictions that arise from having to deal with unenlightened beings. So why is it? Okay, let me rewind and go back to answering the question for those of you who have just joined. Do Buddhists worship the Buddha either as a god or as an idol or as a deity? Buddhists don't worship the Buddha as a god. Buddhists revere and respect and show respect to what it is that the Buddha represents, which is a set of teachings which give us encouragement that, or which give us a way rather to reach an end to our suffering, which give us a method to end all of the unhappiness and to end all of the frustration and the emotional afflictions, mental afflictions that we experience. Buddhists revere the Buddha for that reason. Why do Buddhists have images or statues of Buddhas or enlightened beings if we don't worship the Buddha as an idol? As a reminder for our own potential and our own capacity for enlightenment. And for people who are unable or find it more challenging to relate to the Buddha because they find it too distant or too abstract of a concept, the Buddha that's right in front of us is our guru, is our teachers. And the reason why we revere our teachers is because our teachers open the doorway to Dharma for us. And they show us what is possible, what it is that we can accomplish and achieve in our lifetime if we apply and if we practice the teachings. And that is the aspect that Rinpoche was the Rinpoche always emphasized was, you can know everything in the world, but if you don't apply it, it is not as beneficial as someone who knows a little bit, but very, very strongly applies it. So that is, in essence, a very, 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 very basic explanation of the basis of Guru devotion, which is not about idolizing a person, which is not about becoming a slave to someone else, which is not about blind worship or blind faith. That is a very, very short explanation, very basic explanation of why it is we should be devoted to our teachers, because our teachers are the Buddha in front of us. All right. I actually hope I answered that question. I think I answered the question for today's sharing. Do Buddhists worship the Buddha as an idol? But if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask. Let me just check the messages. Good morning, Chip. Hello. Thank you for joining us. Hi, Jerry. Oh no, there's someone here with a Chinese name. Confession, I don't read or speak Chinese. So hi, I'm so sorry. I don't know how to pronounce your name, but good morning and thank you for joining. If you guys have any questions, either about this sharing or about any sharing at all, please feel free to ask me at this juncture. Or if not, we can just have a nice short conversation about how things are going. All right. Yeah, so just to do a very short, quick recap for people who may be randomly tuning in right now. Buddhists don't worship the Buddha as an idol or as a god. but rather respect and show reverence to the body of teachings that the Buddha represents. And the reason why Buddhists fold their hands or prostrate is it's a universally recognized way of showing respect to someone, of showing your reverence for someone. And that if you think about it, where Buddhism spread from, which is India, in Indian culture, that is how you show respect and that is how you show reverence to someone, even on a day-to-day basis. The example that I gave earlier is of son showing respect to the mother, folding the hands or putting your head to your mother's feet. All right. Okay, so it doesn't look like there are any questions today. So I may actually end this slightly early. All right. But if you do have questions that, I don't know, you're too shy to ask or something, you can PM me, leave me a comment on the live stream after the broadcast is over, and then I will come back on and then I'll answer it by typing it out, because usually my typed responses are much more clear than my verbally offered ones. All right. So that is it from me for this week and for this month. Again, thank you guys very much. Thank you to the sponsors of today's sharing, and yeah, you guys have been sponsoring consistently, so thank you very much for your continued support. And if you do have any questions or any topics that you want me to cover in June, so the coming month, please let me know. Excuse me. It can be literally anything at all. You can be asking me, Pastor Jinai, all these continuous lockdowns that are coming on and on and on and on are really getting me down. I don't know how to deal with the frustration. Can you please tell me what to do or suggest to me what to do? Or you can ask me, Pastor Jinai, what color should I dye my hair? Or Pastor Jinai, why do we give our pets Buddhist names? You can ask me literally anything at all and I will answer it for you. All right, because as I mentioned before, and as Rinpoche has taught us, asking questions is an act of compassion. Oftentimes you will find that other people want to know the same things, but they're too shy or too embarrassed to ask. So if you ask, you're doing yourself a favor, you're doing everyone a favor. So ask your questions. All right. So I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. Not a live stream, but it will be a recorded video. And thank you so much for joining me. Have a great week ahead. Please don't panic buy. Please, I'm begging you, please don't panic buy in preparation for this coming lockdown. All right. But have a great week ahead. And thank you for joining me. And yeah, as ever, please don't forget to be kind to each other. All right. Bye, guys.